Hey, this is Max Hobson from Real Estate with Maxi. I'm coming to you with some of the most successful and experienced agents from across the country to provide the most value in technology, social media, and real estate as we can. I hope you enjoy this one. Cool. We're here with Phillip Di Bella, coffee game changer. Phil, how are you today?
I'm good, Max. How are you?
Yeah, really, really good. So, Phil has just released this new book, 17 Rules of Game Changer Thinking, which I think is really important for the real estate industry. Phil, what do you think the biggest downfall is in the real estate industry at the moment?
Oh, there's two things, Max. One is that obviously over the last 3 years, which was unbeknown that would happen, that no one knew, that real estate's gone off the Richter. Right? I mean, who would have thought that, with the start of COVID and all the rest of it, that real estate would just go crazy? Obviously, it makes sense. People had more disposable income. They had more time. They were looking at, renovating their houses and upgrading things. And then from that, they could obviously see that they could sell their houses for more money. And it started this whole roll-on effect of real estate going through the roof. That's one aspect. The other is that is a flow-on from that is that it's brought a lot of people into the industry that I would say are not career real estate agents. They're overnight successes. And they think that just opening a door and letting somebody walk through it, that they're a real estate agent. So I call them door openers. I've been around property for a long, long time. I bought my first property at 21. I'm now 47. So I've been around property for a long time. And the real estate agents of years ago, it still exists. But unfortunately, all the new ones are completely different. One of the biggest problems I see in the real estate agent industry is that people are calling themselves real estate agents and experts when they haven't done the 10,000 hours, when they haven't actually done the work. And most of them haven't been through the tough times. And as I say, there's a 7-year approximate cycle of property going from great to crap. And I think we're going to start heading down that cycle. I don't think it's going to go to crap, but we're definitely not going to be on a high that we're on. So, one of the biggest problems right now is a lot of 2-minute noodles. A lot of people that are door openers that have had success in real estate that actually don't know how to be a real estate agent.
Yeah. So, as you like to say, 2-minute noodles.
Yes, I do. I mean, which in the book we talk about the rule of sum, because we couldn't really put in there the rule of 2-minute noodle. So we say that, the rule of sum, which is everyone's got a little bit of knowledge and all of a sudden they think they know everything.
Yep.
But to be a game changer, you can't know a little bit of everything. You have to really know your stuff.
Yeah, so you got to go through the highs and, the lows, the crises and all that.
Correct.
And, there's an agent down in Sydney, buyer's agent Simon Cohen, who actually started his buyer's agency in just after the GFC, and everyone was like, well, what are you doing here? But it just shows he's got that experience now, and he's coming through these highs, he's making all these sales, but he knows what it's like at the lows.
Yeah, well, it's experience, right? Wisdom is something that's underrated in business. I've been in business now for 21 years in my own business, and I can tell you, thank God, I'm a lot wiser today than what I was 21 years ago. And that's a message for all the startups, whether you're starting a new job, starting a new business, and whether you're in the real estate business or buying and selling property and developing on the other side of real estate. You hopefully, and you should be, going to be a lot wiser in 10 years' time than what you are today. So if you're just starting out or have just started out recently, then put yourself in learning mode, because you should never stop being in learning mode. But I tell you what, you should be a complete sponge if you're new to the industry.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. So it's just about taking away that rock star vibe and more getting into the sponge and actually learning stuff from the people who are really experienced.
Correct.
Hey, so game changer thinking, what is it?
Oh, look, the entrepreneurship was all about yesterday. That was the buzzword for the last 10 years was, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be an entrepreneur. As I always said, there's no such thing as an entrepreneur. It's an intelligence. Hence, Alan, who obviously co-wrote this book with me, 17 Rules Game Changer, he wrote a book at that time that entrepreneurship was big called Entrepreneurial Intelligence. And that was in 2010. And he wrote about that. And he said, well, it's an intelligence. It's not a title. And of course, he wrote it about me and my story. And we talked about vision, passion, brand, and emotional intelligence. And that served well for the last 10 years. That it was yesterday, I say, is all about entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial thinking. Today and tomorrow, especially the future, is going to be about game changers. If you look about brands that are succeeding today and brands that will succeed tomorrow, they're those that are changing the game. They're changing the game in their industry. So this whole book and the purpose of this book was to outline, well, what makes a game changer? What are the functions? What are the objectives? What are the thought processes? What are the talents of people to become a game changer? And, it happened to be, when Al and I went down through the exploration process, and it was 2 years in the making, it ended up spitting out about 17 different rules. And that's why he landed on 17 rules, not because it's a magic number or anything. But these are all the flow-ons. Rules, call them objectives. Each chapter has a rule. You can read it in any order. That make a game changer. And you'll find that anyone that's changed the game in any industry, whether it's real estate, whether it's coffee, whether it's, podcasting, whether it's whatever it is, has the ability to be a game changer. And the book outlines exactly what those rules are that make up a game changer.
Yeah, right. Okay. So with real estate, I know a lot of people don't see it as them owning their own businesses, the agents themselves. But in my mind, you sort of are. You're running, even if you aren't, you're running your own business. You got marketing to deal with. It's one of the only, professions where there's sort of like an endless roof, so to speak. So how can a real estate agent adopt this game changer thinking, and what would be your favorite rules for a real estate agent?
Yeah, look, let's answer it both at the same time, right? So some of the key elements, they're all key elements, but some of the highlights that a real estate agent needs to have to succeed, to be a game changer is one, the rule of purpose, right? What problem are you solving? What is the purpose of you being a real estate agent? Is it because you want to earn a six-figure salary? Is it because you want to support your lifestyle? That's very insular. Right? What's the purpose of what you are doing? So you start with you as a person. What is the purpose of you being a real estate agent?
And I think there's so many agents in Australia all doing the same thing, all with the mindset of just getting to that $1 million in their first few years. There is a big lack of that purpose in the industry because everyone's doing the same thing. The market was high. Everyone's like, okay, let's get in here. Let's get as many sales on the board as possible without thinking, well, what am I actually giving to the client? How am I benefiting my client in a way that they're going to stay with me in the future?
Well, if they roll that out, if they take the rule of purpose and really hone in on it, then their $1 million salary becomes a byproduct of them getting the rule of purpose right.
Yeah.
So if they get the rule of purpose of what am I going to deliver in value to the prospective buyer or to the seller, right? Then the $1 million salary just becomes a byproduct. However, if they lead with, I want to make $1 million salary, then you find it's going to be very temporary if they make it at all. Which then leads on to the second rule, which is the rule of outside in. Are you building your job, your career in real estate from the outside in? When you take on a listing, are you listing that product? Every house is unique. Every property is unique. But yet some of these real estate agents, and most, want to advertise something exactly the same way. I've seen plenty of it at the moment because we're looking around at, new builds and developments and full floor apartments to eventually move into. And we're looking in obviously around the New Farm and West End area. And everybody's video promo starts with New Farm Park and restaurants and all the rest of it. And it's, a 3-minute video is made up of 2 minutes of all the surroundings and nothing about the property.
Yep.
And then 1 minute it's about the property, or the other minute's about the real estate agent. So these are some of the classic fails that I'm seeing. And that just shows me that one, they're not getting the rule of purpose right. And two, they're definitely not getting the rule of outside in. The person that's looking at that video that's your prospective buyer doesn't want to see your face as an agent, right? They don't care. They want to see the property. They want to see what's unique about the property. Why should they be buying the property? And in a lot of cases, you want to show the environment in the area, but that's not, New Farm Park is not what you're buying. The river is not what you're buying. I'm buying the apartment. So show me the apartment, show me the facilities, show me what that looks like. So that's another example. One of the great ones is, the rule of WIFM. And WIFM is a classic marketing term that's been around for a long time, which is what's in it for me. And you got to understand that everything is a transaction, and a transaction has to appease two parties. It's what's in it for me and what's in it for you, right? And unfortunately, a lot of agents are going out there and all they're talking about is what's in it for them or what's in it for the seller. But what you've got to be looking at and going, what's in it for the buyer and what's in it for the seller, And if you're looking at it with the rule of WIFM, then again, you're going to create value. You're going to be a game changer in what you're doing. So, there's some of the things. The rule of new normal. We're not living in the same times we were. And one of the classic examples I talk about is Kodak, Nokia and Ericsson. Those three companies were the best of the best in their time. And all the executives kept talking about was how great they were and how long they've been around and what they did. And where are they today?
Yeah, well, it's going to be a big shock because, people have been very motivated to buy and sell houses as of current, when people aren't motivated, that's really when that key difference of like from you to your competition comes in, because it's going to be, there's less people. Why are they going to go with you?
Yeah, correct. And it's relationship building, right? Which is another one. We talk about rule of the customer. You know, like how many people can truly say that they're customer focused? I can tell you that every strategy, everything I do is through the eyes of the customer.
Yep.
You know, whether it's I'm sitting there and I'm watching an event happen at the commune, I'm sitting there and looking at what is the customer thinking? What is the customer, you know, when the customer leaves, what are they going to say about us? You know, I'm looking at everything through the eyes of the customer and trying to anticipate that. Now, for real estate agents, a great tip there is, when you're showing a property, you know, research the people that are about to come and see the property. Research them. What are they looking for? You know, and then you can anticipate that. Now, when you apply the rule of the customer and the rule of outside in and the rule of purpose, then you would be able to, you know, talk about that property. And we went to a great one last night, without mentioning brands and places, but a very predominant property that's very expensive that they're selling off the plan. And the real estate agent was brilliant. The real estate agent had done their research on who me and Jana were. They'd done their research on where we live now. Therefore, they were able to understand why we're looking at an apartment, moving from a 1,400 square metre house to an apartment. Mm-hmm. They understood that we had kids that are getting older. Yep. They understood that we didn't want to move out of New Farm, right? And they understood what we liked and didn't like. They knew that I own multiple cars, right? Now, this is an agent who's done their homework.
Going that extra step.
Correct. Well, they're applying the rule of purpose, the rule of outside in, the rule of customer. Mm-hmm. Therefore, what they generate with me is an emotional engagement. They're showing me that they care, that they're not just trying to sell me something. Whereas I see a lot of agents that just want to tell me about the property. You know, well, if it's just about telling me about the property, I can find that information out for myself.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Thank you, Phillip. Really appreciative of you jumping on the show. If you want to grab Phillip's book, 17 Rules of Game Changer Thinking, the link will be in the description of this podcast. Thank you, Phil.
Thanks for having me, and wish everyone great success. And of course, think about this. Everyone used to talk about being an entrepreneur. Don't worry about being an entrepreneur. Think about how you're going to be a game changer.
Game changer thinking. That's it. Thank you, Phil.